Hi, and welcome to the Justice for Georgia podcast. My name is Johnny.
And I'm Britt.
And today we'll be talking about the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party was founded in Oakland, California in 1966. And obviously things were different, in the time of the founding.
Yeah, definitely different. Police brutality, of course, was at an all-time high, but they were still dealing with civil rights movement at the same time too.
Definitely. And the Black Panther Party was pretty much active between 1966 and 1982. And one of the most important things that the Black Panther Party did was policing the police. So they would arm themselves, because California was an open carry state, which included rifles. They would arm themselves and they would just follow the police from a distance. And the police would sometimes, harass them about that, and they'll say, hey, what am I doing that's illegal? I'm legally carrying this gun, it's registered to me, I'm allowed to open carry because that's a state law, and there's no law that says I can't follow the police. They were trying to basically take matters to their own hands because police brutality had already been an issue in their opinion for way too long, and this was back in 1966.
Yeah, and it was kind of obvious at the same time too that they were kind of just basically trying to fix the whole cycle too. So they were trying to feed their community, starting different programs to help those who were HIV positive, and just so many initiatives with affordable housing and just things like that, as well as, like Johnny just said, policing the police.
And this was all done through community donations. It still surprises me to this day where we have communities where, even with tax income and stuff like that, that these communities can't figure out how to set up proper, medical clinics and stuff like that. But the Black Panthers did this through donations alone.
Effortlessly.
Yeah, exactly. They were able to set up medical clinics, feeding kids before school because, it's hard to learn on an empty stomach, and they took education seriously. So this is definitely a group that's been mischaracterized throughout the media.
Oh yeah.
Things of that nature. An example I want to give is that J. Edgar Hoover called them the greatest threat to America. He called them terrorists multiple times. And they actually had a mole infiltrate the Black Panther Party, William O'Neill. And he said, this isn't what you told me. This isn't what y'all had me ready to expect, because you're calling them terrorists, but all they're doing is feeding children.
He created literally programs not to just only undermine their leadership, but to literally target them as well, and make the things that they were doing illegal so that they could be easy targets for the police. It's like he pretty much was the one that kind of put the target on their back and started the stain on their legacy, pretty much, or what he tried to do, because we know the truth on their greatness, but a lot of people still see them as a threat to this day.
And with the FBI, you have to realize everything they do is very strategic. So J. Edgar Hoover, before he even started targeting the Black Panthers, he had told his agents they need to look out for the rise of the Black Messiah. And this ended up including Malcolm X, MLK, Fred Hampton, and James Baldwin. And pretty much what they wanted to do was, first, they wanted to stop the Black Panther Party from forming coalitions with other groups or organizations, because the Black Panthers wanted to coordinate with everybody. I'm talking about street gangs too. They were like, hey, you have the manpower, you have the weapons and everything like that. Why not use that to help your community? So these were the bonds they were trying to form. And the FBI played little tricks, make phone calls, pretending to be a Black Panther, cussing out, gang members and stuff like that, saying negative stuff about gang members, gang leaders, or other organizations and their leaders. They would send mail pretending to be Fred Hampton or Bobby Seale, other Panther leadership. That way they would create division between the different groups. And this is how they started first. You sow division. Then you infiltrate with undercover operatives. So that way they're keeping tabs on, different Panthers and their movements. They even had William O'Neill rise up to become head of security for Fred Hampton. And this was an FBI mole the entire time. So yeah, that's how it started there. So first you sow division, infiltrate, and then assassinate.
Pretty much. And it's crazy. It's wild that the FBI doesn't really understand how the Black Panther came to be about and what they were trying to do. You don't understand it, but when you start backing a group of people and you keep doing it, we're going to rise up and try to do something right for our community. And the fact that you see that as one of the biggest threats says a lot, actually, about our FBI and about this country.
It does, and part of the reason why is we have to be clear. The Black Panther Party wasn't just for, ending police brutality and uplifting black people. It went further than that. They were against the system. Because you think about it, in the system, if a child needs to be fed before school, then either the school provides the breakfast, or if they don't, which a lot of schools didn't, the parents need to go to the grocery store, spend their money, at a store, most likely where their money isn't staying within the black community, to bring the food home and then cook it. Whereas the Black Panthers, they were buying everything in bulk, cooking it up, and just giving these kids free breakfast. This is not how the system was intended to work. Another problem I'm sure the FBI had with the Black Panther Party, when it was started by Bobby Seale and Huey Newton, one of the tenets, the core tenets, is that this is a proletariat organization. This is an organization for the people, of the people, by the people. They had phrases such as all power to the people. And that's not how our system works right now. This was bottom-up thinking, where the people should be the ones in charge making decisions. But our system works with a top-down system where the people at the top are making all the decisions and calling the shots, and we just have to deal with it. So they were in complete defiance of all of those things, and that was also another reason why this group was targeted, just like other groups were targeted, such as the group led by John Africa, where the Philadelphia police bombed an entire block, a city block, with children and everything, because they were anti-establishment. So those things, so everything came together: Black Power, anti-establishment, communism. They were a very strong communist organization. That was a very important part of it. But all those things came together to create, basically, in the FBI's eyes, what was the most anti-American thing you could be, because they hated communists, they hated black people, and they definitely hated the idea of overthrowing the system.
So that leaves us all to wonder, what is America, really? And that's a whole other deeper conversation. Mm-hmm. But back to Black Panther Party, and just ponder on that. But back to Black Panther Party, they were also trying to become a political organization as well. They were trying to help with legislation, and also, like Johnny said, because they knew this system was a broken down system, they wanted to basically help build it back up to serve all of us rather than privileged and white people.
And this was a very strong strategy, especially in Oakland, where they had the most influence at. They were directly in touch with many local politicians. They were directly involved with a lot of local legislations and things of that nature. So when people say that they're against the system, they shouldn't say, "Oh, I'm against the system, it doesn't work, I'm not gonna vote."
No. Say it.
You need to get more involved.
Exactly.
To fix the system, instead of, waiting for, somebody else to start a revolution. Get in, get involved.
Yes.
And worst case scenario, you see exactly all the flaws being exposed right in front of you. I didn't realize until we got more involved with this how much power DAs have to make decisions or not make a decision and just leave something on their desk and leave it for the next DA to worry about because, I'm not going to seek re-election anyway, so it's not my problem. Or something like that. So,
just not to cut you off, but also another thing that we both learned is when it comes to this and us creating bills that can protect us citizens, the cycle that it goes through, the proposal process basically with the district rep and then waiting for it to be voted in and then the state reps voted in, just from the very beginning, we weren't in politics, we just wanted to do something. But when you get in, you learn so much.
You definitely do. And one of the most important things I think to remember about the Black Panther Party as well is that the history of the Black Panther Party is American history through and through. A lot of the original members of the Black Panther Party were actually from the South. They had moved to, you know, the north, towns like New York and things of that nature, Philly. They also moved west to towns like Oakland. And they were trying to escape racism from the South just to, you know, get away from Jim Crow to run into the new Jim Crow, where it's still racism, it's just done differently. And even Bobby Seale, while in court, they were trying to charge him with something else, and they ended up charging him with contempt of court, and he was supposed to serve a 4-year prison sentence. However, during court, they had him bound and gagged in court. This is supposed to be a democratic institution, and yet they're treating him, as you said, like an animal.
Like an animal.
It's disgusting, and it just shows you the lengths they went to just find reasons, any reason, to arrest a Black Panther and put him in prison. Even if the original charge didn't stick, oh, well, contempt of court, you're going to prison anyway.
Just anything they can find. And it shows true today because they do the same thing to activists who are out here today. If you are about peace and unity and you can find a way to bring a group of people together, you are seen as a target. You are seen as a threat, even if you do it in the most peaceful way. And it just shows again, you know, you can't help but question yourself again. I meant to say, what is America truly? Like, what does America really mean and really stand for? To go back on one of the points that you said as far as with Oakland and the police and them seeing them as a threat, it's kind of interesting to me because the things that they were doing are what police are supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But it's seen instead as a threat. And it makes you kind of wonder, well, why? And what are you really supposed to be doing that we don't know? Because if us doing that can cause all of this, what is the police supposed to be doing? Because clearly what we're doing is against what you're doing. So what is it that you're supposed to do?
Well, the thing is, the police say they're supposed to serve and protect. That's the line they give because it sounds good and it makes people feel better. And any socialist or communist will tell you this: the police exist to serve property. And when you think about it like that,
Yes.
when you think about it like that, that when black unarmed men are killed by police and they make excuses, they lie, they plant evidence, they do all types of things in order for them to get away with it. They don't care about it, pretty much. But when it comes to anybody burning a building, let somebody burn down a BP gas station.
I mean, you saw the
response.
lengths that they went when people burned down that Wendy's with Ray Shard. They had all activists, including myself at the time, on alert. They were dragging people out of their house in the middle of the night or early in the morning. It would even be reported on the news over a Wendy's.
That's because they serve property. And as you mentioned, you said that the Black Panthers trying to do the job the police are supposed to be doing. This goes back to a James Baldwin quote, which I'm about to butcher. But he says, a white man grabs a gun and says, "Give me liberty or give me death," and he's applauded as a hero. But a black man grabs a gun and says the exact same thing with the same intention, and he's labeled a threat. And that's exactly what you're seeing with the Black Panther Party, where all they're saying is the police aren't protecting us, they're not protecting our neighborhoods, they're not helping us, we'll step in and we'll do it. And that's what they did. That's what they did. They were accomplishing it. They were doing a great job, but the FBI realized how dependent they were on the leaders, and that ended up being a flaw. So they went after, Fred Hampton and Huey Newton, Bobby Seale, Eldridge Cleaver. They tried to get him on a murder charge. He fled to Algeria, and it's just, you can see it. That was just how they were operating. And not only did they get them on false charges or anything like that, they also had Black Panthers killed. So pretty much they just went after and started assassinating or attempting to assassinate leaders of the Black Panther Party. The police actually ambushed Bobby Sutton and Eldridge Cleaver before he left the country, and they had a pretty much a standoff. They were shooting back and forth for 90 minutes, whatever. And then after a while, they had a standoff, and the police wanted to come out unarmed and everything. And Bobby Sutton used one of the tactics that was very popular with the Black Panthers whenever they were in a standoff.
Mm-hmm.
He completely stripped down to his underwear and put his hands up. I know it sounds extreme, but you have to remember the time period. Every Black Panther expected police to kill them. So they were like, no, if I'm gonna come up with my hands up, you're gonna know I have no weapon on me. You can't say I had a weapon.
That's so sad.
So even though Bobby Sutton did this, they immediately shot him as soon as he came out. They shot him 12 times, killing him.
Wow.
So that was one of the people they killed. This was and I didn't even get to his age yet. He was 17 years old. He was 17 years old. And they did him like that.
That's sick.
This is sick. This is the way they assassinated the leaders. Next was Mark Clark and Fred Hampton. They had William O'Neill basically come up with a blueprint of Fred Hampton's house, because that was Fred Hampton's head of security, because it was FBI mode. And they had him drug Fred Hampton, something that would just keep him asleep. And Mark Clark was keeping guard that night. Middle of the night, the police kick in the door. Before Mark Clark even had a chance to do anything, they immediately shot and killed him instantly. And just sometimes your body moves on its own after death. So his hand pulled the trigger afterwards, shot the ceiling. That was the only shot fired by the Black Panthers. That shot. So after that, the police go through the house. They're just shooting randomly and through walls and everything where they suspect Fred Hampton is. But because they had their agent drug him, he didn't wake up, even with all that gunfire and everything. His fiance was also 8 months pregnant at this time.
Wow.
In the room with him, trying to wake him up, but could not wake him up. So eventually they forcibly removed her from the room. Fortunately, she was fine. She was unarmed. She was unharmed, I mean. And they go into the room, and a Black Panther overhears them saying, "Is he dead? No, he's still alive. He's gonna make it." Then they hear 2 gunshots, and they say he's good and dead now. They shot him twice in the head while he was still laying in bed. That's how they killed Fred Hampton. And this wasn't, the KKK or some white supremacist terrorist group that, people would expect to do this. This was literally the police been sent to him to do this, coordinating it with the FBI to assassinate him in this way. Wow. This is ridiculous, and America has to come to terms with its history, and it has to acknowledge this.
Real history. Real history.
Fred Hampton. You can jail revolutionaries, but you can't jail the revolution. You might run a liberator like Eldridge Cleaver out of the country, but you can't run liberation out of the country. You might murder a freedom fighter like Bobby Hutton, but you can't murder freedom fighting. And if you do, you'll come to answers that don't answer, explanations that don't explain. You'll come with conclusions that don't conclude. And you'll come up with people that you thought should be acting like pigs, that's acting like people and moving on pigs. That's how Fred Hampton felt about what happened.